Hi again, I'm Veta Hemric, and I'm here today with another if moment. If you had ledgers worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, would you like to use them in a legal matter, or would you like to be shut out? Would you like to see all your records destroyed by a bank who had no right to be on your premises? They were actually committing criminal trespass. This is all that's left of the records as to what kind of reputation the product has and what kind of demand. These are worth treble damages. The FTC has been made aware of the amount of money that we want. I want now. My mom is no longer with me, and she was the property owner since 2004 in a divorce matter called divorce fraud. And there are no statutes of limitation. It's just a matter of getting someone to let you put it into court. Well, these are pencil ledgers. Pencils were made before computers, and the computer is only good as the person operating it. So, this is 1990, and there was a deed of trust made on the May 14th date of 1990. It was made as 100% commitment of all the funds produced by two poultry houses. This was in North Carolina, and it is big poultry production territory. There are a lot of different growers there. They work for a lot of different poultry companies. Purdue, Wayne Poultry, Tyson, Mountaineer, and we had a poultry business with a company once known as Golden Pride. It became Penfield, and it now has been sold, I believe, to Coleman Natural Chicken. I may be wrong on that. Don't quote me. I haven't been in a chicken house in years. This was all from a lamp business, a lampshade business. And no, I wasn't intoxicated and had a lampshade on my head. I had fun with it, though, and I had a lot of wonderful people that worked with me. They didn't work for me. And everyone wanted to work with us because we watched soap operas and we ate potluck dinners, and we got a lot of work done. These pages reflect the handmade Yadkin County product that was made on the family farm that became a registered Hemric Century farm. It was registered in 2006, and the big trucks roll there regularly picking up these shade orders. Well, the big trucks don't roll there anymore. That was 1990, and this is 1991. It's kind of tattered and torn. Some days I feel like that. It's been a long, difficult journey trying to have any of our records. SunTrust rode in there with a team of trucks and people that I didn't know. They did this on July 7th of 2009. It was on my mom's property, her primary residence, since 1946. My dad and my mom built the house, paid for it as they went. They did not live in debt, and this was a very distressful time for us. I called the sheriff's office and told them that there was a fraud in process, that we had people on premises removing property, that no one had shown ownership of the right to do that. And I asked for help. Well, I didn't get help. I got more trouble. The sheriff was running a depository of false statements that added one more about me. See, they were making their record so they could eventually pull the plug on everything and get me out of the way, that I became a citizens journalist because of the frauds that I learned of and wrote about. I wrote about them on ripoffreport.com, a legitimate consumer reporting agency, and it angered the clerk of court. It made him address me personally that he wished I would stop writing about him on the internet. And I said, when you stop committing Class C felonies, I'll quit writing about you. But I knew we were on the chopping block as the next territory to be taken in a wrongful possession, a wrongful foreclosure. The board hung full for years. I made photographs of the bulletin board there in front of the clerk of court's office where they advertised alleged foreclosure properties. We're in a non-judicial state, and basically the clerk of court is God. Well, God has fallen from grace in the foreclosure arena. I have multiple false statements, multiple false documents. They shredded all my inventory so I couldn't possibly make money or have an income to make any payments on these illegal deeds of trust that my mother knew nothing about. She didn't do any business with SunTrust, and she knew that. She challenged this particular deed of trust and stood up very well to Wayne Dixon at age 85. There are documents now from foreclosure review boards and the Federal Reserve Board that now validate that what Veta Hemric said in court that day on December 2nd was actual and factual. And I was very proud of her that day, and I am still very proud of her, although she's no longer with me. I do this in her honor, as it was one of her last wishes that all of our work not go away with her death. She died in November, on November 4th of 2012, and we learned that her case 08 SP 149 had been qualified to be included in a RICO lawsuit. We also learned that it was also a compromised deed of trust and also was qualified for foreclosure, independent foreclosure review. I have the consent orders stating that SunTrust is now going to abide by the rules and not hurt other people like they hurt us. That doesn't make up for anything. My mother died broken-hearted because they took her out of a home that she loved, and it had memories for her. They had no right to be on the property in the first place. It was properly noticed for no trespass with the criminal codes stated. When they rode in like the Gestapo and took all of our inventory, and it took from July 7th until July 17th, and it was hauled off in dumpsters to some place that I didn't know where it was. And when I asked who was on the premises, this was after the deputy, and there were two of them. Garrett Stevens from the Yankton County Sheriff's Office was one of them, and Bay Yates, a woman, was the other one. They never got out of their cars, and they let a gentleman threaten me with my mom watching. I asked who was on premises in that building and what their names were, and they told me in no uncertain terms that they didn't have to tell me a GD thing, and that if I didn't watch out, I'd find myself in federal court. So that's exactly where they're going to find themselves, in federal court, because they didn't belong there And the things that my mother addressed on December 2nd, 2008 are exactly the same things that are addressed in the Federal Reserve Review and in the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for Wells Fargo, J.P. Morgan Chase, and SunTrust. I printed them all off because I didn't think they would last and the website would be accessible for very long. But I do have them. I know she was right, and she died knowing she was right. We've been through a lot, and we've learned a lot. Life has become an education in, what do they call us, terrorists? Anybody who objects to what they're doing, they label you a terrorist. Well, I think they got the label backwards. When they're pointing the finger at you, they've got more fingers pointing back at them than they have pointing at you. And what they're doing is terrorizing this country and setting elder people out of their home. My mother was 85, and she did not like it, and I didn't like it. We asked questions, and we investigated. Her home was protected by the Castle Doctrine, the Dick Act of 1902, the Second Amendment. There was nothing wrong on our properties until the law enforcement got involved, and they made it wrong. If these were your ledgers and all your money went to pay bills while Carolina Farm Credit took all the money for 14 years for 2 poultry houses, would you like to know where that money went? Because my mom paid a little visit in 2003. She didn't tell anybody where she was going. I had no idea she was going. And she surprised the lending agent who set this farce in place. And she asked, when do I get my properties back? I thought this was just until they were paid for, and it's been 13 years. They should be paid for. Because I had done a little bit of investigation myself, we should have done this beforehand. Hindsight is 20/20. 2 chicken houses with people taking a check out of them pay for themselves in 10 years. 3 in 15. Therefore, 2 poultry houses should have been paid for on a $345,000 note in 13 years. Isn't that correct? I'm pretty good at math, and I think that would suffice to say that those 2 chicken houses should have been paid for. Well, to her surprise, the debt was more than $400,000. Didn't look like she was going to get her property back anytime soon. And my business had been forced into Chapter 11 in '91 at the height of our best time of business. We were picked up by Spiegel, the largest, at that time, the largest direct mail sales catalog in the world. When I left High Point in October of 1992, I had 17 absolutely fabulous opportunities. And I chose to go with Spiegel. And they sent their agent out to make sure we were a legitimate manufacturing concern. And we were. And they loved us. And we could ship and we could get money to buy the parts. But I was in court all the time, at least once or twice a month, fighting to save my business. Bill Dow wanted me to sign papers. He was with the NCSBTDC. That's the North Carolina Small Business and Technological Development Center. He wanted me to sign away all rights to everything, copyrights, anything and everything, so I couldn't compete He was going to give away my business to a divorcee who had $40,000. And then he was going to give $30,000 of that to a factoring agency, and we didn't owe them $30,000. We didn't owe them $26,000. We didn't owe them $25,000. We owed them $4,777. And I didn't bite for any of it. I stood on my legs and I used my God-given talent to market and sell and to create this product. And I had a wonderful staff of cutters. I did the first one, and then they did the rest of them, and it was the world's finest sculptured lampshades, and we sold it under that description. And we were not argued with. They were great workmanship. My girls were good. And I hired high school students. I gave a lot of kids their first job. And they turned out really well. Anyway, these ledgers, SunTrust didn't get them. They ground up my business, sold it, did whatever. I understand from a rumor that a certain real estate agent bragged that she had taken everything that Veta Ireland, that was my married name, everything that Veta Ireland owned. And she was going to have it auctioned off, and she was going to give the goods, the proceeds, to Habitat for Humanity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't I hear somewhere that they put people into their homes? They put people into their homes, all right. I found some of my goods in the Habitat for Humanity store in Elton, but they declined to say that they'd ever had a donation, a sizable donation, from any of the goods sold from my place. And the sheriff never had to make good on what happened to a lot of money that there was a checking account for. He was disgraced on January 26th and allowed to remove himself from office. There's still a lot of untold Sheriff Michael Caine incidences. The fact that his office was used as a depository from 2006, 7, 8 for me to defame my name. It's not a good thing. If these were your ledgers, would you not want to know what did they do with the money from 2 poultry houses for 13 years? Neil Finger, an attorney in Jonesville, North Carolina, he was the trustee. My mother sued in 2005 for damages, for money damages, allegedly. What she did was make a donation, a couple of them, to some, as Mike Golden says, Jack Bauer, shysters. They had a good time with what we became known as, behind our backs, as Southern uneducated white women. This is a matter of embezzlement, misappropriation of funds. You don't have to be Southern, you don't have to be white, it doesn't matter what color you are, money talks. Ours said, goodbye. I'll leave you with that, and then I'll be back with another, if this were you, would you fight back moment? Thank you.